Hello everybody, welcome back to Hollywood Sports. Hey guys, I want to talk to you about sliders. If you play my GM and my league, I want to talk to you about sliders, playing the CPU. Now, what's very important is I don't want to talk to you about the main slider set because I'm developing those sliders, but that's not what I'm talking about tonight, because everybody has their form of sliders that they like, their style of play that they're like. So I don't want to talk about those sliders. What I want to talk about is the tendency sliders, guys. The coach sliders, the coaching setting sliders, and the tendency sliders. And what I mean is, when you go to game plan, boom, boom, boom. When you go to game plan, you want to go to coaching sliders, okay? There's coaching sliders for every team. All right, as you can see with the Pelicans here, their help defense is 50, run play frequency is at 85, zone usage frequency is at 4, bench depth, and I'm going to explain these in a second. Bench depth is at 10, bench utilization is at 45, lineup performance is at 73, the factor is at 73, and you see the playbook. And if you'll notice, guys, every team has their own coaching sliders. Now these aren't changing right now because the game is set on the New Orleans Pelicans on their home floor. Okay, so we'll leave it at the Pelicans, but every team has their own coaching sliders. And what this does, guys, is help defense. The Pelicans use 50% of the time. Their run play, they run plays at a frequency of 85% of the time. They run plays. Okay, zone usage frequency, they run zone 4% of the time. So they play a lot of man-to-man is what that means. They don't play a lot of zone. Zone usage frequency is only 4%. What I'm trying to say is those coaching sliders mean a lot. I wouldn't change those if you're playing my GM and my league. Now, I'm going to tell you why you don't want to change these sliders right here. They're very important. Every team has their own set. You know, the San Antonio Spurs has, they might run 65% help defense because they play good on defense. Their bench depth might be more than 10, right? Bench utilization. The Pelicans use their bench 45% of the time during the game. Lineup performance factors at 73. Every team has their own numbers. That's very important. Every team has their own numbers. Now remember that. Okay. Now what you want to do then is go down here. When you go to slider sets, you see it's on the CPU. Let's go down here to the bottom of the tendencies. You see at tendencies, I have them all on 0. Take inside shot 0. Take close shot 0. Take mid-range shot 0. Take three-point shot 0. Post shot 0. You know why they're on 0? Because, guys, let me give you an example. If you go in your slider set, all your sliders are at 50. Whatever you playing, rookie, all-star, Hall of Fame, whatever, the tendencies I think will be the same. They're all going to be the same. So if every team you play tendencies are at 50%, guess what? They're going to take inside shot 50% of the time. They're going to take close shots 50% of the time. They're going to take mid-range shots 50% of the time. Every team you play is going to play exactly the same. So you're going to know how to adapt to each team because you're going to use the same plays. You're going to use the same screens. You're going to do whatever your gameplay is, and whatever game plan is, you're going to do the same thing with every team. That's going to be boring. So if you put it on tendencies all zeros, now remember the coach sliders. Every team had their own coach sliders. Your coach wanted to play this amount of zone. Their coach wanted to play this amount of bench. This coach wanted to play man-to-man. They have their own numbers. The coach sliders have their own numbers. So let the teams reflect those numbers. Because if you take your tendencies and put them all at 50%, it's going to eliminate the coaching slider. Everybody's going to shoot inside shot 50%. Every team you play is going to take close shots at 50%. Every team you play is going to do post shots at 50%. Let's go down here. Every team you play is going to be attempt putbacks. How many times a team's going to put putbacks? If it's on 50%, every team's going to attempt it at least 50% of the time. Every team you play is going to be exactly the same gameplay. So if you put it on 0, then what happens is every team is going to adapt to their coaching slider. Yeah. How often do they run plays? How often do they do zone coverage? I mean zone. Right? All that's already in there. So put your tendencies at 0 and every team will reflect their coaching sliders by playing different. Some teams are going to play more deep into their bench. Right? Some teams are going to do more on a fast break. See, every team has their own coaching sliders, guys. Now remember, it's easy. All tendency sliders on 0. Now let's go back. Oh wait, let me go change this back to 0. Let me change this. Take inside shots, because every team, when they take an inside shot, every team's going to be doing it a different percentage. So if you leave it at 50, every team is going to do it at 50. Every team's going to take close shots at 50. So let's go back. Let's go back to game plan. We go down here to coaching sliders. Again, every team is going to be different. It ain't going to show here because I'm in the game already. And the only way you can really get into it is go to game plan while you're playing. If you can't just go straight to options and go to game plan. At least I don't think you can. But every team has their own set of numbers right here, right? Every team has their own numbers, guys. So if you put your tendencies down to 0, every team, their coaching sliders will reflect a different type of gameplay every time you play somebody. So your style of play is going to change. So just because you had your favorite play and your playbook works on this team, it doesn't mean it's going to work on Boston. It doesn't mean it's going to work on San Antonio, because their help defense might be different. Right here, the Pelicans' help defense is at 50%. San Antonio has a really good defensive team. Would you agree with that? Would you agree with that? So most likely, their help defense is going to be a lot higher. So if their help defense is a lot higher, your plays might not work the same as it did for every team. But if you leave your tendencies all at 50%, guess what? Those sliders are going to take over. Your coaching sliders aren't going to mean anything, and every team is going to play exactly the same. You're going to get the same results every time you run a play on it, and then you're going to be cheating the computer. You're going to know what works and what don't work against the CPU. See? You're going to know what works against the CPU and what not works against the CPU, because we're intelligent. We can figure those things out. We know what works and what don't work, right? It's just like in Madden. If you're playing Ultimate Team, but you're doing your solos, you know what worked and what's not going to work. But if in Madden, if every team was different other than the ratings, right? It's got to be more than ratings when teams are different. Every team is coached differently. Every team has different tendencies, right? So you can't put them all on 50. They'll play exactly the same. So take the tendencies, put them down to 0. Just let it go strictly off the coaching sliders right here, and you will get a really variety of gameplay, and you really will enjoy it. Every team will be different. Every team will be a different challenge. Some teams will play more zone defense against you. Some team will play more man-to-man against you. But if you put them all at 50, everybody will do exactly the same thing no matter what team you play. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you understood that. Take your tendency sliders, put them all on 0. Leave your coaching sliders the way they are, because every team's going to be different. It's not going to change right now because it's already set to the Pelicans. So it don't matter what I change right here. It's going to be different. Now, I could change it and go back to the game, and the Pelicans probably, their tendency would probably, coaching sliders would change based on the team I just changed it to. Okay, guys? But remember, you go to options, and you go to your sliders, you go down to tendencies, and put them on all 0s, guys. All 0s. All 0s. And you would get a more variety of gameplay when you play the CPU. All right, guys. I hope you understood that. I hope I didn't babble on, repeat the same thing. I hope you liked it. If you did, hit that thumbs up button, guys. But if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Join the team of Hollywood Sports, and let's do this thing. And as always, until next time, everybody, thanks for watching.
That's all, folks.